now. See, but one of the things we started looking at, we got in the 20th century, is that there were other methods of warfighting besides putting lead down range. We're most familiar with, but we started looking at other technologies. And technological development, the human element, and industrial capability all intertied as we came into the 20th century for developing weapons. And we started looking at that time, now that we had the capability, of some warfighting techniques and weaponry that date all the way back to the Greek and Roman times. And one of the most intimidating weapons that man has ever developed, the use of fire as an offensive weapon. Early on, during the Greek and Roman era, like that, the idea of being able to use Greek fire, basically literally the equivalent of flamethrowers, a technology, ironically, that over the centuries was lost and is slowly but surely being rediscovered. And then, eventually using catapults, trebuchets and such, throwing burning debris at the enemy and such, became impractical with the innovation of small arms and black powder. But by the beginning of the 20th century, we started developing an industrial capability, started ramping up to the point where we could start putting fire back in as a man-portable offensive weapon. Now, as we go into it, look at what Sergeant Workman's carried. This basically became its heyday during World War II. But I want you to think again back to what we first talked about. This was a very effective and aggressive offensive weapon, but it's still very dependent very much on one thing, the human element. Picture yourselves being the Marine, humping this offshore on places like Saipan, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. And although you're intimidating the hell out of the enemy because you're carrying fire on your back, well, guess what? You've intimidated him enough, he wants to take your ass out. So you're now carrying 4.5 gallons of high-octane gasoline on your back, weighing in excess of 70 pounds, not a well-balanced 70 pounds, slushing them across the sandy beach, running against an enemy that's going to try to take you out. Not a pleasant thought. Any round that goes into that tank, you're going to be releasing product, and any potential ignition point, you turn into a Roman candle. Not a user-friendly weapon. Now add into that the idea that this has an effective range against the enemy of an optimum of maybe 60 yards. You got to get right on top of them. You're not trying to burn the enemy out, but using flame as an impingement over top of a bunker, a cave, or whatever to call oxygen depredation, suck the air out of it, so a grunt can get in there with a satchel charge, a hand grenade, or even the shotguns you saw, go in the back door and finally take the enemy out. Occasionally you get lucky. The fire itself does the job. But in most cases, this is an offensive weapon to allow other people to go and do its job. But it took a lot of guts, determination, and courage to get up there and do this. As you see this thing operate, not only intimidating on the receiving end, but as you're standing behind it, we'll find it's not necessarily a fun thing to do for the operator either. Sorry about that.
What are you doing?
Best of you, doesn't it? It's way too much fun, right? You don't even think about it, do you?
Oh.
As you can see, anybody feel the heat back here?
Yeah.
Like I say, very, very intimidating, but it'll be very, very effective. The whole point of it is, talking about this weapon, we use it up through World War II, into Korea, even Vietnam, as a very effective offensive weapon. Everything from land clearing to basically taking out your opponent. But, just like the flintlock we talked about, just like every other weapon we've dealt with, the technology has not been what's winning wars for us as Americans. It's the people behind it. You, as future leaders of our Navy and Marine Corps, if you walk away from this class with nothing else but the concept that if you learn from this, you're going to be the innovator. You're the one that's going to be asking, as Major Meredith says, the question of why. Learning the technology you have, learning the capabilities of your people. If you understand, if you take care of your people, they're going to take that technology and utilize it to the best effect against the enemy. Again, know your people, you take care of your people, you motivate your people, teach them how to use the technology, they're going to be innovative. This and this will make us the dominant force all the time. No matter how high-tech or low-tech our opponent is, as long as we've got the human element on our side, the courage, the dedication, and motivation, we're always going to be the dominant force. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Let's take a 5-minute break, and let's see, how are we looking at time, Major?